Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast.
Welcome.
See, he actually gets
I
to
am.
say welcome now
I've been upgraded.
to co-host rather than
Yeah.
sidekick. Anyway, here we are again, Isabel and Ron, on the Peak Endurance Podcast in your ears for your listening pleasure. And we are here to update on 100K race number 2 is done. So a week apart, and I have done obviously everything that I would not let a client do. Well, I would let a client do it, but only if I had worked with them a long time and knew exactly where they were at, and we'd worked towards being able for the body to handle it. Anyway, we will get into those details. So as you know, Ron and I did the trail walker together, and that went well. We talked about that in the last pod. This one, a week later, I signed up for Buffalo Stampede 100. I've done the 75 there before, so I sort of kind of knew the course and knew what I was in for. So I had a long time to dread mix track. And so.
And when asked if I wanted to do it as well, the answer was thanks, but no thanks.
I don't know why. Then I could have had someone to suffer with the whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, basically my recovery from trail walker went fine. And then, so we went up to Bright on the Friday.
Just to step back, what was your recovery?
Yes. So good question. Sunday, because it was a Friday night, which was really disconcerting, because then it was hard to understand what day of the week it was. Saturday we did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday we went for a 2-hour cruisy mountain bike ride, and we're only riding mountain bikes because that's the only bikes we got.
Yeah.
We rode them on the bike path, so easy peasy.
Yep.
And then Monday,
I think you might have gone for a walk.
I think I went for a walk Monday morning. I'm just going to look at my Strava. Monday I went for a walk, and then on Tuesday, oh yes, okay, no, that's this 100. This is great podcasting, isn't it? No, I went for a run on the Monday. It was
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. So I went for a run on the Wednesday. I walked. I did go for a run on the Monday. I'm sure I did, because it was really slow. I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it felt horrible and clunky. Then the Tuesday I walked because it had felt so horrible and clunky. Then Wednesday I did go for a run. I did some repeats of some description, just to kind of try and, like a rust buster almost.
Right.
And then Thursday was another easy run of 10K. Mm-hmm. Like each time it was only 10K. So I only did 30Ks in the lead up. And then I had a rest day Friday. Right. So I had basically 2 rest days in the lead up. One of them was a walk. Yep. Okay. And it was like a 5K walk. So then we drove up Friday around lunchtime because you worked in the morning. I went and got I got a massage on the Monday and then a massage on the Friday, just easy massages, nothing too deep and horrible. And I made sure, I was eating really well, doing all those things, but I did notice I was a bit tired. So on the Friday morning, like, you get up at 5:15 to go to work. I said, let me sleep in, and I got up at 6:30 and I actually slept. Oh, golly. I actually slept, which I don't, lately I haven't been able to do, sleeping in. So I was tired. And then we drove there and I fell asleep on the drive, didn't I?
Yeah. So probably from about an hour and a half into the drive, you fell asleep.
Yeah. And it was a weird sleep. It wasn't a nice sleep. I was saying to Ron when I finally woke up, it was like I was drugged, because I fell asleep and I was in an uncomfortable position, but I couldn't wake myself up, and I wanted to wake myself up. It was like I was drugged, and a few times I tried to wake myself up and I literally couldn't. And eventually I did just before, well, I can't even remember, not that far out from Brighton. I managed to wake myself up.
Just as we were coming off the freeway in Glenrowan.
That's right, yes. Yeah. And so it was probably, an hour from there, 45 minutes or so. Yeah. And then we unpacked, went into town, and I said to Ron, I still feel like I haven't woken up. And I just didn't feel, I felt weird. I don't know, something weird. And I knew lunch hadn't gone down well. Something about lunch. No, I don't know. But anyway, didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
And we went and got pizza for dinner, which was yummy.
It was yummy, yeah.
Which you had for lunch today, the leftovers.
Yes, yeah.
Waste not, want not.
No, that's right. It's good for dinner, good for lunch.
Oh, yeah, it's even better for lunch. And so, yeah, so then we went to bed relatively early.
Yeah, we had a reasonably early night, yeah.
When you're away and it's crappy regional TV, there's nothing to do anyway.
We didn't bother putting the telly on because there's nothing to watch unless The Voice is on.
No, we read instead.
Yeah, so we just went to bed and read.
Yeah. And so then we were up bright and early.
Yeah, the alarm went off at 4:25.
Which was horrible. Yeah. And I always managed to sleep fairly well before races. I didn't so well before this one. I don't know why. Once again, it wasn't that I was nervous. Nerves have never stopped me from sleeping before a race. Even when I have been particularly overly nervous before a race, it doesn't generally stop me. But I was, it's always good to have a little bit of nerves, and I did, because I didn't know how my body was going to handle doing 2 100K so close together. And quite frankly, on no training pretty much. Yeah. Because like we said, before trail walk, our longest run was 36K, and we did one hill session. And I was thinking about it during the race when I was lamenting the lack of hill sessions. The last time we did hill sessions was October.
Because as soon as we found out about Coast to Cosy, we stopped doing hill
we stopped doing all the big hills and, getting into the hills and getting lots of vert. So we hadn't really done any vert of any consequence since late October. Yeah. And my legs let me know about it later in the race, let me assure you. But so anyway, so got up. So I hadn't slept perfectly, but whatever. And then I started to eat. I couldn't finish breakfast because it was making me feel sick and too full. Had a coffee, and then I did a bit of a vomit on the way to the start line, which left me with all acid all up my throat and even in my mouth, even rinsing it, nothing. It was pretty horrible. And that basically set the stage for the for the rest of the run, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Right from the get-go, food.
Yeah.
Was
made my stomach cramp. Yeah. And the thought of it made me like, I'm not a vomiter, I never have been, but oh my God, the whole run, I felt like I wanted to vomit. And I almost wished I could vomit just because I just really wanted to vomit. And I hate vomiting like more than anything. More than mixed track. So we just did what we could, and you bought the food that you could. And I did say to you, there's Clear Spot is the first checkpoint, and I was still feeling basically okay. Mm-hmm. And then met you at Urban.
Yep.
And I said to you then, I'm starting to feel a bit of fatigue in my legs, didn't I? Yeah. So that was 24 Ks in. I was starting to feel the fatigue from the previous week.
And I knew, because you only had a small climb up, big walk, you'd be fine.
Yeah. Only a small walk. 10 kilometres.
10 kilometres.
So and because I'd only had the one coffee, and normally I have more coffees during the day, I got some peak chocolate. I had a strip of the caffeine one and the yellow energy one. And gee, that gave me a boost up there, but kind of that was ran out by the time I got to the top. And then and I didn't really, I was nibbling on little bits of sandwich. Once again, I did the sandwiches, cut off the crust, which once you do that, it's really not a lot of food. So I had one Vegemite sandwich with all the crust cut off in that. And then I think I got halfway through the next ham one, couldn't eat any of my sushi. Even though I bought a whole heap.
While you were doing the big climbing up Mount Buffalo, I went into town and bought a pie.
Because I said, I'll eat a pie, buy a pie.
Yeah. Of which you had...
This was the day before, yeah.
Of which you had 2 bites.
And which I spat one of them out.
Spat took a bite of the
crust,
pastry, spat that out, took a bite of the meat, and that was pretty much it.
And I think I was grimacing the whole time, wasn't I? That was at the top of Buffalo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was really hard going because I couldn't eat. That was the major problem. Like the lack of hills in my legs, I can deal with because I can push myself through that. But when you've got no energy to push yourself, that's when it gets really, really hard.
Yeah.
What did it look like from your perspective? What are your...
Well, I knew you were struggling to eat, but you hadn't, because I was still giving you food, because I was still giving you the sandwiches at the aid stations, and you didn't seem to be giving me food back. So I
did occasionally give you a plastic bag, but yes, yeah.
I wasn't sure, I wasn't aware that you weren't eating anything.
I was really trying.
Yeah. But I was still trying, like at each aid station, trying to give you food and trying to make,
Yeah. Oh, you weren't.
Keep trying to eat.
I know. And bless you, but there wasn't really, because you were like, well, what do you want to eat? And I'm like, well, nothing. Because just thinking of food made me want to bath. And I was still drinking water at that stage, but I could hear my stomach making the most god-awful noises, and then it was gurgling with water as well, because all I had in it was water, and it was just making these horrible sloshings and gurglings, and it was just horrendous, the noises my stomach was making, which wasn't helping me. And what I find interesting was, like, normally when I'm hit a bit of a dark patch, I put music on, and that really helps. Music didn't help. It was almost annoying.
One thing I did notice, though, you were still passing people. You were still, because when you're standing around at the aid station waiting for someone to come in, you see the same faces each time, the same runners, because you're generally running at that same pace. And I did notice that people that you were starting behind, particularly on the ones with the big climbs, you were finishing in front of.
Yeah.
And then there were some people that would come into the aid station in front of you, but were still in the aid station when you were leaving.
Yeah, because they were eating and I wasn't.
So you were still...
Yeah, I was still moving along. Yeah. I did slow later, but we'll get to that.
And I was also, just out of interest, keeping a record of how far in front of the cutoffs you were at each aid station. And that was increasing. Every aid station, it was increasing by about up to half an hour or more.
Because that was one thing before the race I'd been concerned about, only because I didn't know what the effect of having a previous 100K in my legs a week before would be like, would I make the cutoffs? But I was miles in front of them, wasn't I? Yeah.
You were miles in front and getting further in front.
So which was one relief.
Yeah, so I could tell that even though you weren't eating well, you were still moving okay.
Yeah. And that's because I've had these, I mean, I think this was something different, because I did say to you later, this is something I've never felt this bad sick-wise ever in any running event. But I am kind of used to running on fumes.
Yeah.
Because of my dietary issues, I find it really hard to find anything that goes down and doesn't make me feel sick. So once again, it was a tour of the toilets of
every aid station you went into. The first thing you did,
every aid station was a toilet stop, I swear to God. But you know what, they had toilets, they had portaloos.
Yeah, they did.
And for that I am thankful, because once again, like, I thought it was just Trail Walker who had all the toilets. I mean, they had a lot of toilets, it was brilliant. But even single track events, they'd put portaloos at all the aid stations, and that was really, really good, and kudos to them as well. Because, not putting a portaloo at an aid station is really not catering to the female demographic, which is, like, really unfair. So any races that don't do that, I know they are expensive. I get it. I'd rather pay a bit more for entry and have toilets. And I think most women would agree. And I think men would be happy to pay a little bit extra to keep the women happy too, because it's only fair.
Yeah.
So that was great, and it was a relief in more ways than one. But yes, I just kept moving on, and then got up to the chalet, and obviously I've walked, whatever you call it, to the Horn before as part of the 7 Peaks. But we did it differently, because obviously you can't send all of those runners on the road. We did little bits on the road, but it was lots of single track, and it was really lovely. It It was really good. And I think the course was great. And when I was chatting with people out there, I got a lot of feedback from other runners about how fantastic the course was, even though they were working hard or suffering or whatever. Everybody loved the course.
Yeah. In previous years with the Buffalo Stampede, when it was a 75, apart from a bit of a loop up once you get up to the top, it was basically just an out and back.
Yeah, it was out and back. At the loop at the top, but an out and back.
Yeah. Whereas this year, there was only parts where you couldn't possibly go a different way.
Yes, like from Euroban to Buckland.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But it was a great course, a really good course. If you're looking for a challenging course, not just with vert, but with nice technical trail too, you will love this course. And everybody I've spoken to, even people who really suffered, all said that they think it was a fantastic course. And like I said, even on the run, I was talking to people and everybody loved it.
Yep.
So, it is a great race to do and I really loved it. But it was just one of those days where I was suffering from the start, and that's okay because I've had that before. What's interesting is at Trail Walker, when Imran and we were talking at one point, and he was talking about the tough races I've done. He said, what's the toughest race you've done? And I said to him, I can't say that because every race when I do it, I go, oh my God, that was the toughest. Didn't think that after Trail Walker, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, they're all tough in their own way for a different reason. Like this was tough because of my stomach. But also, it is a tough course. Mm-hmm. It is. But, that's why we do it. If we wanted an easy course, then we wouldn't sign up for this sort of thing. You would choose it for what you want.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment on people who don't want to do tough courses. Like we don't all have to go and do these really hard, tough courses. Like I don't think they're necessarily for everyone. And you got to do what suits you. And I personally felt, seeing as how well I was doing on the hills, considering I had no food in me, that hills really are my thing. Like really,
absolutely.
That my body just clicks into gear going, yep, I know what I'm doing. Let's drag this crazy woman up the hills, and it just kicks in. So anyway, I got to the Horn, which is great too, and then came back down. And then, a few little undulations and climbs, and then back to the chalet.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Mount Buffalo is actually a very long mountain.
Yeah.
It's a long, narrow mountain. So once you're at the top where the chalet is...
You're not at the top.
It's not actually the highest point of Buffalo. The highest point of Buffalo is at the opposite end of the mountain range. So it's about 10K plus 10 or 11 Ks from the chalet to the highest point. Which is the furthest point as well.
Yeah.
So to get to the highest point, you actually have to traverse the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. So but it's a beautiful spot, and everyone I met was lovely. I didn't really speak to many volunteers on the aid stations because I had you.
Yeah, you didn't actually go to any of the aid stations.
No, I didn't go to any of the aid stations. So, and to be honest, that was one thing maybe they were lacking in a bit was good food, like chips and lollies. Once again, I don't.
Not for 100K.
Not for 100K.
That might be good for a half marathon or even marathon.
Yeah, but not for 100K.
100K needs more.
No, you need more. And not all the aid stations even had noodles. And even then, noodles, I think we can do better.
Yeah.
You hear about the American races, the kinds of food they have.
Soup. Soup is a simple thing.
And not cup of soup, for the love of God. That is just crap.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. So, decent soup. Get a volunteer. Their volunteer job could be just making soup. They don't even have to attend on the day. Something like that. You need real food. Chips and lollies is really not going to cut it for a lot of people. Maybe for the front runners, but even then they wouldn't eat that. They've got their own stuff, gels and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I don't know who it's for because it's not sustaining food.
No.
Anyway, enough of my rant. But it's in saying that I couldn't eat anything anyway. But but maybe if there'd been some choices to look at, I would have liked some soup. But woulda, coulda, whatever.
Yeah.
So then went to the chalet, then went down from the chalet, and my foot was starting to hurt. My left foot, the knuckle of the big toe, was starting to hurt, and I thought because I bought loving the calderas, the Brooks calderas, loving them. Wore them at Trail Walker. They were great, but I bought a size up and I didn't want to tighten them too much because that was the issue last time was they were a bit too tight. That's why I got a size up. But because they're a bit loose, because Buffalo is very rocky, so it would move a lot. Like loose, it normally wouldn't matter so much because of the rockiness and the technicality of the nature of the terrain. It was moving a bit, which was influencing that.
Right.
But yeah, so that was hurting. So then we went to Urban.
Yep. Once again,
didn't eat anything.
Didn't eat anything. I tried to give her some more sandwich. I think you might have taken a Nutella.
Yes, I did eat a little bit of that, you know, of the little, because the squares, honestly, the squares that I cut are like 1.5 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters, right? And so I maybe ate 3 or 4 of them.
Which equates to about a quarter of a sandwich.
If that.
Yeah.
And ran downhill, went, oh no, so that's, we're already at Urban. So then I had to go over to Clear Spot because you're not allowed to go to the Buckland Valley.
There was an extra aid station at the Buckland Valley, but crew were not allowed.
So I had some Coke there, just a few sips of Coke because I figured, well, that's calories. And I had been drinking some ginger beer.
Yeah.
Not a lot, you know, and some Coke, not a lot. I found even the Coke wasn't going down. Like normally I can at least drink Coke and at least drink ginger beer, but I couldn't even drink them. Anyway, so then from Buckland Valley, oh my God, like the Snake Hills or whatever. That's when my legs went, oh, you got to be kidding me, Isabel.
I did hear while I was waiting up at the top, there were a couple of guys came in and they were just saying, I thought it would never end. Like every time you thought you were done.
Yes.
It was just an undulation and you would start to climb again.
I know, because that's it. I go, oh, that's it. Oh, no, that's not. And honestly, my legs, that feeling of just nothing in them, like literally nothing in them. And I actually started to feel like I was going to pass out from lack of energy.
Yeah.
Like my body was just going to go, no, we've got to shut this down because this is getting ridiculous. That's what it felt like. So I slowed the pace even more, if that was even humanly possible.
And just to go back to Urban, one thing we did notice, and I commented when you came into the aid station, was that you were starting to lean.
Right. I was getting my lean, which if you've seen photos of me from GSER when I won that, I had a terrible lean. But I didn't get that lean until 40 hours in. And I also got the same lean at the 24-hour track race I did. Once again, didn't get that lean until 23 hours in. We were not at that level yet.
No. I mean, you were, what time was it? It was about 4.
No.
It was about 4.
No, it was about 5:30 or something.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Down at Europe. Yeah.
So you've been going for about 12 hours.
12 hours, which is nothing really for me. And I could feel the lean as I was coming into Europe and going, oh, shit, I can feel I'm starting to lean. This is not good. This means I've been pushing myself too hard. And so, yes, I did back it off for that reason. And then when I felt like my legs, and honestly, I honestly felt a bit woozy and like I could potentially, not that I would, but, you know, felt like my body was like getting ready to you know, whatever. So I just, you know, oh my God, some of those hills are so slow. But then I noticed everyone was slow. Everyone was slow. Yeah. But, you know, I was slowing more than I would have wanted and more than I would have if I had trained for hills.
Yeah.
You know, like even with no food, if I trained for hills, I would have gone faster.
And that's right. And, you know, when you say everyone else was slowing down, I would say, yes, but that's when you start passing people.
That's normally
when other people start slowing down, you don't.
Yes,
normally. And that's your strength.
That's right. But I had no strength.
Yeah.
So for more than one reason, you know, it wasn't just that I was feeling under the weather. It was that my legs weren't strong enough, you know, and I will accept that. And I know that what I did is not something I would recommend. Oh, I've got the timer. Not something I would recommend for anybody. I did it because I have been doing this for a long time. I know what my body is capable of. I would not recommend it for anyone else. Like I just know my body so well now that I know I can push it and it won't break.
Yeah.
I do know my body fairly well, but it's not for everyone. And it's actually probably pretty bad for most people. So, you know, but anyway, I finally got to freaking Clear Spot when I kind of know that last bit of climb, and I kept waiting to get onto that last bit of climb. I remember it from, you know, when I've done the Stampede before. And I knew it. And I was like, yay. And I sat down and I said to Ron, I need to sit down for 10 minutes and eat, because I was really scared that I was going to get halfway up mix and not actually be able to keep going. I was feeling a bit concerned that, because I know I can push myself, but then I thought, how much can I push myself? There will come a point when my body goes, no, you can't push yourself anymore. No. And I didn't want to reach that. So I said, I've got to eat. And bless your cotton socks, you'd been to the burger trolley and you'd gotten me a chicken wrap and chips. They looked delicious. Were they nice?
Oh, the chips were, because I did get myself some.
I knew you would.
They were pretty good chips.
They looked like the kind of chips I would like, because I'm very fussy on hot chips, because I figure, why waste the calories on shit chips? I only like good ones, and they looked good and salty the way I like them. And the wrap was awesome, except the chicken was spicy, but it had lettuce and cucumber in it. And oh my God, that actually went down fairly well. So I sort of ate the soggy bit of wrap and this lettuce and the cucumber, which sounds disgusting, but it was actually all right. And it wasn't heaps, but compared to what I'd been eating.
Oh yeah, it was heaps compared to what you'd eaten so far.
And just sitting down for 10 minutes. And what I then did was, I didn't just sit down, but I actually, I do what I tell my people to do, the people who are doing my mental training workshops is, you've got to brace yourself and tell yourself, yes, you can't just go do all the mental training work and, no, it's all going to be easy. No, you've got to brace yourself for it being hard. So I just sat there and I, basically said, all right, this is going to be hard. It's going to be horrible, but it's okay. This is what I signed up for. This was part of what I wanted to do, was to challenge myself. And you're going to do it. You're not going to DNF. You can physically do it. You don't want to DNF and then go, oh, shit. The remember tomorrow mantra that I have, I don't want to wake up tomorrow and go, I actually could have done it. So I know I'm going to finish it. So there's no point in just sooking about it, even if it's internal. Just get there and do it. But I needed to spend a little bit of time to focus and do that, because while you're climbing the hills, you're so in the moment, you can't do that.
Yep.
So I had to just get my head in the right spot, because I had been kind of getting into a bit of a bad spot. So I spent, 10 minutes having a little something to eat, getting my head sorted. And then I went off and I felt so much better. I wouldn't say great, but so much better than I had felt. And mix was horrible, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, firstly, you came down off Clear Spot to Baker's Gully.
Yes.
Which was only
in there,
5 or 6 k's. From Clear Spot.
And once again, they even had a portaloo there. So awesome.
That's right. Yeah. And that was basically I think the aid stations say, right, you're ready. Now you've got, now you've got this awesome climb in front of you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, normally because Clear Spot, I think, was at about 88 k's. So normally,
well, 92 according to my watch. And can I tell you, that messed with my head, because I was like, it's at 88k. We're at 89. We're at 90. We're 91. This is like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But on paper, it was at 88 k's, and you wouldn't expect to have another aid station between that and the finish line.
But they do.
Because mixed track, I think, is such a ball buster that that you kind of need to.
Well, as I tell the story, one of the stampedes I did, I got to the bottom there at Baker's Gully, and I was like, whinging once again to the aid station. Go, okay, how am I going to do this? And he's like, have a Coke. It's legs in a cup, fresh legs in a cup. And I'm like, okay. I don't know if it was fresh legs, but it was something. It was sugar. Anyway, I think I had another bite of the Sanger there.
You did have a little bit more of that wrap at the bottom.
Yeah, that was actually. I want to go back there and actually get it properly, and the chips, because God, they look good. So got up mix whilst inspecting all the insects on the ground, because I was pretty close to it because it's so flipping steep. Got up that, and when you get out onto the road, it's like nirvana. I just kept telling myself, just when you get to that road, because I know it's just a gradual sort of a V climb to Mystic. And then I knew from Mystic it was pretty much all downhill. And you go down, I think it's Emily's, I don't know what it's called. You go down and it is quite steep, but it was like, you're so close. It was like, woo! And I know the bit around, once you go past the caravan park and you go under the bridge and you go around along the river to get to the finish line, I know that section really well. So, And I could run. I was able to run, but then my stomach would go, oh, and so I'd have to walk for a bit until it stopped cramping, and then I'd run until it stopped. And I was at that point, I don't know when it started that I couldn't drink water anymore, but probably from about 80 odd Ks, I couldn't drink water anymore, because when I would drink water, my stomach would seize up and cramp and make me either want to bath or go to the toilet. So what I was doing was just swishing my mouth with water and spitting it out, because I figured that was getting something into me, because I was still feeling thirsty and it would get rid of the dry mouth. But basically, you know, for the last 20 Ks, I had no food, very small amount of food, and not much water. And it was, it was struggle street. It really was. And how is it from your perspective? Like, do I come across as like a whinger, or like, and I won't feel like it as a criticism. I just want to know how I come across.
No, basically, as a crew, but for a race like this, you know that you're going to have to be a bit of a positive influence.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when the runner does come into the aid station, they're just, you know, they're either lamenting what they've just done, or they're looking forward to what they're about to do, and it can be very daunting. And as a crew, you have to be very positive and kind of talk down what's coming up. Oh yeah, you'll be right. It's, you know, you've done this before. You know, it's not that steep. You know, or it's only short. So it might be steep, but it's only short.
Yeah.
You know, you've just got to basically twist the backs and twist the mood.
But I mean, I not necessarily, because even when you said that to me when I left ClearSport, you said, you know, it's a descent for now, which it wasn't. There were some undulations, but I won't hold that against you.
Well, I've never been down that track.
No, I haven't been that way. Normally it was a straight descent.
Yeah.
But you said just one tough climb to go. And I thought, yeah, and that's right. That's really all it is. Like, seriously. And it didn't even take that long. It's not actually that long. I think in my mind it was about 20 kilometers.
Yeah.
But it truly wasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. Mixed track is very steep.
But it's short.
Real steep, but it's not very long.
No, it's short and definitely doable.
Yeah.
And so when you said it's just one tough climb to go, and you know, I went, yeah, that's right, you know. And then so from there it was just basically to the finish line.
Yeah, nice easy jaunt along the river,
which was fine. I was quite enjoying it. I wasn't hating it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going, oh my God, I need to get to the finish. It wasn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, you know, like I wasn't, like sometimes towards the end of a race, I just get me to the finish line, but it wasn't like that. It was actually okay. And so I was a bit longer than I slowed down more in the second half than I wanted to, and more than I ever normally do. And while I think my lack of preparation and training was a factor, I think the main factor was the lack of calories.
Yeah.
Because and honestly, when we got, you know, I finished and we got back to the room, and I was feeling so sick. I had to get Ron to get me a bowl to put by the bed, because I was scared that if I needed to vomit in the night, I wouldn't be able to run to the toilet. It would take me too long, and I'd vomited everywhere. So I mean, I didn't end up vomiting, but oh God, I wanted to vomit. You know, you know that feeling where you get all the spit in your mouth pre-vomit. I kept getting that, and my stomach just felt so bad. And I said to Ron, I've never felt this like nauseous in a race before, or any kind of long run or any event or anything. Like, I get sick, I always do. I know that. But never like this. This was something completely different and completely horrible. Did you want to turn the potatoes off? We're cooking potatoes, for mashed potatoes for tonight. And Ron keeps looking at the cooker. So that's done now. So, so I personally believe that I had some sort of bug or something, because it's Monday and I'm still feeling a bit nauseous and not able to eat properly. And, you know, and I think, I don't know, I work at schools, so, you know, who knows? And I think there was, from what I heard, there was a bit of gastro with some of the year 7s going around, and I was teaching year 7, you know, so who knows? I don't know. Could be just that my body was fine. But with the sleepiness, the weird sleepiness I had, and the feeling sick even before the race, I don't know. I just wonder. And the feeling sick normally, because normally when I feel sick in a run, it goes away as soon as I finish. But this didn't go away. And so
normally after a big run like this, you might not be able to eat immediately after, but a couple of hours after you're starting to find your appetite again.
But this was something else, and it just felt so bad. And like I got up in the morning because we were staying with this other guy, Glenn, and he because I couldn't sleep because my stomach was hurting or feeling so bad. And so he got up to do the Sky Marathon, and I got up and just sat and chatted with him. And we're sitting there and talking, but my stomach was talking the loudest because it was just going rah the whole time. And he's like, "Oh my God." And it was just like, oh, so awful. And it wasn't just talking because I could feel it. It was so painful and so horrible. And just, I just felt so sick. So, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I think it was something else. So, anyway, and today at school, I was at school today and I'm hobbling along through the gym with my class, and one of this boy, he runs up beside me and he goes, Miss, are you all right? You're limping. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did a 100K race on the weekend. He goes, oh, did you win? I went, nah. And he goes, did you have fun? I went, nah. And he looked at me really confused, like, why would you do that? And he looked at me confused and just ran off. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. So, but I thought that was a good summation of the race. But when I say, did I have fun? No. I mean, the start of it was good and I did enjoy it. And I had good chats with people and I saw lots of people I knew and it was great. And the weather was sensational. Yeah. And it really was a huge challenge, and I'm proud of myself for having completed it. And it shows that I can do, 100K. Whether or not I could do another one this weekend or even want to is another thing entirely. I was asked by Scott if my challenge was 1,200Ks in 12 weeks, and was that a cat or a possum? I'm
not sure whether that was a cat or a possum.
And I went, fuck no, not 1,200Ks in 12 weeks.
No. Maybe the next challenge is a month of 100Ks. So 100Ks every weekend.
Well, that's what he said. 12.
No, I'm saying 12. 12 in 12 weeks is
too much.
Bordering on ridiculous.
Yes, but maybe 4. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I like your thinking. Would you do them with me?
No.
You just set the challenge. You won't do it.
That's it. Yeah. I don't do the challenges. I set them.
Yeah, like the 7 peaks, right?
That's all right.
And I just want to make a comment about polls. All right. Actually, not a comment. I want to make a rant about polls. All right. If you're listening and you were doing Buffalo Stampede and you had polls, like seriously, well, anyway, what I noticed was a lot of people not using poles. We were climbing up to Clear Spot and they had people packed their poles in their packs. And I said to one guy, excuse me, may I ask why you're not using your poles? This is us climbing up the steep climb. And he goes, oh, because I'm going to use my arms to drag me across the finish line. I said, well, did you know that if you use poles from the start, you can delay fatigue? But he wasn't having it. He was saving his poles. Like, why would you save your poles?
I don't know.
For when you're tired? Why don't you use them?
He would wear them out? I don't understand.
I don't understand. Like, use your poles to delay that. You're never going to stop yourself getting tired, but to delay it. And then I saw other people, like when you're using poles and you're going up a steep incline, you're going to be leaning into the hill a bit. I would see people and standing upright using their poles. Like, clearly the poles are not being used when that's so. Learn how to use your poles properly, whether or not you come to one of my clinics. That's not what I'm getting at. But if you're going to use poles, use them. Otherwise, A, it's a waste of $300 or so. And B, it's a waste of the weight that you're carrying. Like, use them properly. I did see a lot of people using them really well, and they were invaluable on some of the downhills. I was passing people on the downhills using my poles and people using poles on the downhills. And they did help, I didn't always use them on the downhills because I don't like to always, but it's good to have that skill in your repertoire. So practice with your poles and use them. Don't leave them in your pack for later on. Like, seriously, don't keep them as a special treat for when you're tired. Use them to stop you getting tired so quickly.
Yeah.
And for me, they were just a godsend. Like, I don't know how people do that course without poles, quite frankly. Like, I truly don't. Especially mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, Ron has agreed to kind of partake in the challenge.
Yes. So,
and he sounds so excited.
As it stands, and having discussed the runs we're going to be doing, I will probably be doing a 6 in 12.
Yes, you will be doing.
That'll be as close as I get to. So I will probably be doing every second one
it will be basically every second one. So he's going to do May at the prom.
Yep.
We've already signed up for Ultra Adelaide.
Yep.
Which is July.
Mm-hmm.
Then September, you're going to do the Austrian one with me.
Yep.
Then, because you're going to miss October and November, but you're going to do December with me and February, which because you did February and March, that kind of makes up for the October, November. So it still will be 6.
Yep. Which is, considering before this, I had only done 3 total.
3
100K races.
And one of them I'd already roped you into too.
Yeah, it's going to be a substantial increase in my...
I'm a good influence on you, aren't I?
That's right.
Yes.
So it will be quite an increase in my 100K repertoire.
Yes.
So,
but I think you underestimate yourself. I think you are more than capable, but I suppose it is a lot. I just kind of forget that you're not like me, maybe.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. It's,
I'm like, oh, no, I feel guilty. We'll talk some more.
You wouldn't catch me doing 200s in 2 weeks. So
1 week, pretty much. Right. I know it.
Yeah.
And we've had this argument a few times. Can you tell? It's 1 week. It's like 8 days.
Yes. Okay. You wouldn't catch me, but not only trying to do that, but being able to do that, because that takes experience and practice.
Yeah. Well, not that I've done it before, but yeah.
No, I mean experience in
lots and lots of running.
Lots of pushing your body and That's why people don't get off the couch and do 100Ks.
No, because it's still
not that I'm getting up.
Because what I'm finding is as 200 milers, 100 milers and 200 milers becoming more popular, people are seeing the 100K. Oh, it's just a short distance. Yeah. It's actually not. It's still a lot for the body to recover from, and it's still a lot to do.
Yeah.
So don't be misled by people who it's only 100K. It is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And, the 100 miler is not the new 100K. The 100K is still the 100K, and it's still really hard. And 100 miler is just like really, really hard. And 200 miler is just too much.
But they're I mean, really, when you look at them, they're completely different beasts. Like, for a 200 miler, you're not going to be running that much.
No.
It's
and you're going to be sleeping. You're going to have to sleep, and you're going to have to hike a lot.
And a 100 miler, also, you might run a little bit to start with, but still, unless you're, right up the pointy end, for most of us mere mortals, it is still just a long hike. Whereas with 100Ks,
you can do a lot more running.
It's, unless once again, at Mount Buffalo where you're doing lots of steep stuff. But for Oxfam, we still, a lot of it was runnable, even at the end.
Yes.
So 100K is much more of a running race.
Which makes it harder on the body.
Yeah.
And so the 100 milers and 200 milers, they're hard because of the fatigue levels, but actually the effect on the body is not as bad, on the musculature, I should say, and, is not as intense as with 100K. So don't underestimate the 100K and really respect the distance, in spite of what I'm doing, which is not respecting the distance. Please do, because I'm just doing this as a personal challenge because I couldn't be bothered doing a 200 miler at this point, to be honest. So this is kind of just a different sort of a challenge for me. Yes, and I wanted to give a shout out to Angus, who I saw on the big walk. He was having a cramp going up there, and he said, "Love the pod." And I said, "Hi, what's your name?" And so anyway, hi Angus, and thanks for listening. And don't forget that, I love to hear what you think of the podcast, and I would really love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe. It's easy to review, and it absolutely makes my day. I say that a lot, but it truly does. We all like a little bit of positive feedback, and, maybe even for Ron, something, anyway. And, of course, don't forget Peak Chocolate, getting 15% off at checkout with the code Isabel Ross. And the Flex Beam, get 10% off at checkout. I don't know what I was going to say then. With the code Isabel Ross 10. And, once again, I was eating peak chocolate in the race, using the Flex Beam before. I was using the Flex Beam last night, wasn't I, when we got back? It was great on my lower back. I'm promoting these products because they are products I believe in. I'm not the kind of person that would promote products that I don't actually think works. That's not the way I work. I honestly do believe in them. So give them a crack yourself. Was there anything you wanted to add or anything?
No, just what's next?
The prom.
The prom. So that is 6th of May?
Yes, 6th of May. Yep.
So we've got about 5 weeks.
Yep. And in between then, we've got the wedding.
Yes, that is next for us.
Yep.
Our
and then, of course, on the 30th of April, we have the free trail run up at Lake Mountain, where you will see Ron and I running around. So we will be there. Come along. I'll do some more posting about that, but check that out. Go look at Lake Mountain. There'll be all information there on that free trail run, and it's going to be, a really good sort of community style event. So it'd be great if you could make it up for that. We'll have just gotten back from our honeymoon, but that's right. Okay.
Yeah, we might be a little bit
suntanned
and slow because although we will still do some training, we won't be doing as much training because
that's perfect training for 100Ks too. Because the 100K will be the week later, don't you?
So we'll be tapering.
Tapering. That's right, tapering. With wine and good food as well. So, but sometimes that bit of extra rest, you never know. Anyway, so try and make it for that. Also, I have got the menopause workshop coming up, so check out the website for that. So we will be at the Prom Ultra. If you are there, please do say hi. And and I am interviewing on Wednesday night for next week's pod. I'm interviewing Joffred Mackett, who just got the Australian record for the 48-hour walk. So he's one of my clients, and he bested that by heaps. You'll find out more exactly about all of that. And that's a record that's stood for 13 years. So, I mean, absolutely amazing. He came second to Camille Herron, which, if you're going to come second to anybody, she's the one.
That's right.
So,
who also...
Yeah, she broke the world record.
The world record. Yeah. So,
yeah. I'd have loved to have interviewed her, but, I tried. That's why if you rate, review and subscribe, it pushes the podcast up the charts a bit more, and people are more inclined to go on podcasts that are higher up. So if help a girl out, please, and rate, review and subscribe, and then, I can get some of these bigger names on because that's kind of fun too, as much as I like having the other kinds of chats. I like to mix it up with the podcast, not just all interviews. But yes, next week's is an interview with Joffred, which should be pretty awesome because he's an amazing guy.
Yep.
All righty.
Okay.
Let's go have mashed potatoes.
Yummy.
That's not all we're having. We're having pork steaky thingies.
Yeah, pork steaks, mashed
and
potatoes and a salad.
Yes. All righty. Well, thanks for tuning in. Wow, this has gone longer than I expected. I thought we were only going to chat for half an hour or so. That's my problem, is I waffle. All righty. It's because we're endurance athletes.
That's right. Yeah, endurance athletes, endurance talkers.
As well. All right. Have a great rest of your run if that's what you're doing, or whatever it is that you're doing. Have fun. Make sure you're enjoying what you do. Have a great week. Have a great Easter. Have a lovely Easter. Time with family, friends. Have a break from work, get some good runs in. The weather's looking like crap if you're in Melbourne. It looks like it's going to rain the whole time, but, that's okay. You're not at work. That's the main thing.
That's it. It's easier to handle the rain if you're not at work.
Enjoy the chocolate and have a great Easter, and see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.